Sports card breaking under attack. The massive social media platform TikTok has announced that it will stop breaking on its platform. It will be banning sports card breaking on its platform. It's something that I saw a report that came down from legal. They said that I think just to be on the safe side, they are not going to allow it on the platform. I first saw this through a Sports Card Radio IG story, I believe, and it was reshared from the collectibles guru. He was throwing in his 2 cents on this. And of course, when something like this happens, it's always, what is the ripple effect? What is next? Something that the collectibles guru had opined on or speculated on was that YouTube and IG would follow suit in the next 24 months. Now, that's just pure speculation. From what I understand, I don't think that Eric over there at Collectibles Guru has any sort of inside information. I think it's just kind of the hot take of the day, and that's perfectly fine. Kind of what we do here, right? And it's a fairly general statement. I mean, 24 months in the hobby is like an eternity. So could it be that they move away from breaking on YouTube and IG in 24 months? Sure. I mean, a lot can happen in 24 months. Before I continue on, big shout out to today's video sponsor, COMC.com, your home for buying, selling, and flipping all the hottest trading cards. Their consignment marketplace, home to now over 30 million cards, if you can believe it, from baseball superstars like Aaron Judge to Marvel favorites like Spider-Man. COMC has something for every type of collector. Visit COMC.com today. I'll have a link in the video description, as well as in the comments, to build out your collection. Guys, the Disneyland for sports card collectors. And then, of course, part of that ripple effect is you have a lot of calls for regulation in the breaking space. Regulation is kind of a double-edged sword. I think a lot of us know if you look at kind of regulation over the years, if we look at how the government has utilized it, there's been a lot of good and some not so good. I personally am not a big fan of government regulation. Why is that? Part of the reason why is a lot of times when the government gets involved, in an effort to protect the consumer, they take a wide swipe at everybody. So you might have some bad apples. Maybe it's 5% of the breaking community is not really doing what it should be. Maybe it's 10%, whatever it is. That's not really doing stuff. They're a little bit scammy, this, that, and whatever. Well, the government, when they do their regulation, it's going to affect typically 100% of people that are breaking or any other industry. We've seen this time and time again. Now, to defend government regulation, if we go back to the beginnings of our country, there was people actually dying in manufacturing plants, creating products. So there needs to be some sort of oversight, especially when you have unsafe working conditions and so forth. But again, those are kind of extreme situations. And frankly, to be honest, and I've heard other people say this as well, I really think if you're looking at government oversight and regulation, they're probably more focused on cryptocurrency and that sort of stuff, just because that has been right in the forefront. It's in the news. We've seen the recent fallout from just scandals, scandals everywhere, whether it be Celsius or was it FTX, the other huge one. And this is billions and billions and billions we're talking about. So, sports card breaks, it probably isn't as high on the priority list, I would assume. One thing Ziggy said, a frenemy of the channel, I don't know what to call him. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that he comes up with, but one thing that he said that I actually did like is some sort of state licensure when it comes to breaking. So it means that you actually have to go through the process through your state to get a breaking license. And there's a little bit of oversight. There's some sort of committee there. There's some sort of oversight team that's paying attention to where if somebody has a customer complaint, some sort of scammy thing happens, there is some sort of entity to go to, some sort of oversight committee to pay attention to it and can shut down those folks that are just not doing it properly or just taking advantage of people. The other big thing that could happen here is fanatics. And a lot of people say, I don't like monopolies.
And you must be the Monopoly guy.
And I get that. Fanatics is really going to control in a couple of years really all of the sports card, the licensed sports card product coming out in 2 or 3 years. They're really going to be in control of all of this stuff, unless maybe they buy Panini and they get control of it sooner. But what does that mean? It means that they can actually come up with standards. They can say, hey, look, if you're going to break our product, you have to follow these specific guidelines. And if you don't, then you're not going to break our product. They can also apply pressure on the secondary market, because a lot of people will say like, okay, well, that's fine when it initially comes out, but what happens if you have someone that buys the product? A lot of breakers are like this. They buy the product on the secondary market and then they're breaking it. Well, maybe Fanatics can put pressure on, secondary market folks, whether other sales platforms, whatever, like, hey, look, if people aren't doing this properly, then this might have an adverse effect. Then it should be accounted for. We're doing this sort of accounting on the front end, meaning like when we're selling product on the primary market, we've got these sorts of stipulations in place. So on the secondary market, we expect this to be the same, and also incentivizing people to maybe buy on that primary market as opposed to the secondary market. There's things they can do. They can pull levers. They can put pressure on. Fanatics can do this to really kind of tidy this thing up a little bit. Now, whether they're going to go through all the effort of doing that, it remains to be seen. But I have a feeling, though, Michael Rubin pays attention to this sort of stuff, and especially with the sports betting side really gaining steam, I think that he's going to want this to be an efficient machine. I don't think he's going to want it to be in the news for stupidity happening on the breaking side. I think that he's going to want it to be tight, or some sort of a process in place to where, hey, we've got our breakers, people breaking and doing this outside of this sort of process is going to be looked down upon, and it's going to be talked down to where people in the hobby, maybe new people getting in, they're not going to bother with those folks, because this is the place where we have efficient processes to keep you safe type deal. The other part that I think that needs to be talked about is the fact that there's not enough talk, I think, about young people that are able to buy into breaks. This actually dawned on me. And again, I'm not a breaker, so I'm not in the space. I don't see it every day. I'll watch a break here and there on YouTube, see if there's a huge hit or whatever. It's kind of fun. I get it. I understand the entertainment value of it. But one thing that struck me, I think was it last year, where it was a 13 or 15-year-old hit the one-of-one Mac Jones that he ended up selling for $100,000. Good on him. Smart kid. But then I got to thinking, like, how is a 13, 14, 15-year-old in this break in the first place? Like, how does this, I guess it didn't dawn on me that you could be in the break at that age. I thought that this was kind of adults only, 18 plus, 21 plus. I don't know if there's standards around that, and I don't know if it's very easy to control that piece, and how can it be controlled? I guess that would be another thing that I would like to kind of see cleaned up. Look, if you're doing it with your dad or your parents or whatever, that's one thing. But if you're out here, and I respect the hustle, for young people, but the other thing I really am not a huge fan of is, young people kind of getting into this groove of, sports betting, sports gambling, and whether it be sports betting, daily fantasy, weekly fantasy, or whatever, getting in over your head, or if it's breaking with cards. I would like to see that maybe cleaned up as well, or what. And look, maybe there's stuff out there. Maybe there are breakers out there that do have, age requirements. I really don't know enough about it. But again, I've just seen this here and there where, you have people that are under 18 that are winning massive hits, or they're in these breaks. It's like, how is this happening? Do their parents even know? And so yes, eventually some sort of breaking standards, somebody is going to have to rein this in, whether it's big business like Fanatics, or Fanatics like companies that come in and say, all right, guys, we're getting together. We're creating standards. We're creating things to protect the consumer and create efficiencies. Or it's going to be some sort of state government oversight. Is the federal government going to get involved in this? Probably not. Maybe they will, but I think it would take a while for that to happen. But could states get into it individually and vote on different bills and kind of tie this into a bill, a sports betting bill? I think that it could happen, most certainly. So, but again, I'm not for big government oversight. People in the hobby, companies in the hobby really kind of pay attention to this, get ahead of it. I don't really see it being an issue. I think that they could clean it up enough to where it's not needed. It's not as much on the radar. I don't know, though. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.